Ultimate Car Tuning, sponsored by Momentum 99 Premium Fuel from Tesco.
Welcome to Ultimate Car Tuning, the biggest, the best, the only dedicated car tuning show on television.
On today's show, we're looking into the world of suspension, but also testing a little sleeper car from UK street cars.
But first, we're going to one of the biggest and best car events of the year. This is the Ford Fair at Silverstone.
The Ford Fair at Silverstone is probably the biggest enthusiast show of the summer, attracting more than 15,000 people. And on a sunny day like this, it's also one of the best. Is this, am I right in saying, the 25th anniversary?
Yeah, there's the 25th time the show's happened. It started off many years ago. It's quite a small affair. And it's grown and grown and grown.
It's a huge event, there's so many people here. What kind of cars can we expect to see here today?
Well, there's a huge range from the modern fast Fords to the classic Fords.
So this is the place to be if you like Fords?
Certainly is, yeah.
Defo.
Yeah.
There are literally thousands of vehicles on display here today at Silverstone. And just like Dan says, there is something for everyone. So, found some vintage cars here. They're absolutely stunning. I mean, come and have a look at this one. I think 1950s, in the diner, with my shades, my milkshake, Danny Zuko by my side.
It's a 1974 XB GT Coupe, a Ford. It was in Mad Max movies.
Wow.
The original Mad Max. And
famous.
not this particular car, but this model.
Oh.
Is that a mustard yellow?
No, it's actually Daytona yellow, that's what they call it. It's actually
Daytona
Daytona yellow. And it loves the beetles and bugs, if you look.
Oh, yeah.
Crawling all over it.
Shows them up quite well.
It does, it loves them.
So Terry, I'm a big fan of these old Fords.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about this one.
It started off as a bare shell really, and it took about 4 years to build it. It's been on the road now about 18 months.
It's got some speed in it, hasn't it?
It's done a low 10-second quarter mile. So,
Wow. What speed does it get up to?
I've done on a private road.
Are you allowed to tell us?
About 170.
Wow, that's amazing.
Tell me a bit about the car, mate.
Well, it's more or less standard, other than all the little shiny pieces and other things I put on, like body kit wise, and 2 litre cams, 4-branch manifold, straight through exhaust, power boost valves, upgraded injectors, pulleys, well, more or less everything on the engine's brand new, like.
So how much do you spend on it?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I got all the receipts in the house, big wad full of them, like, but I haven't added it up, I haven't got the guts.
Now, it's all very well looking at parked cars with their bonnets open. That's fine. But here at Ultimate Car Tuning, we're all about getting out on track and seeing what a car is made of. So that's why I've persuaded John to take me out in a stunning Ford GT. I know someone who's going to be a little bit jealous. So we're here at the pit lane. This is where all the action happens.
It's pretty exciting, eh?
Very exciting. And guess what? I'm going out in one in a minute, Ben.
Yeah, well, I can do one better than that, Suze, because I'm going to be driving one of these babies. Beat that.
Okay. Ben is going to get to drive a car. But one thing I'm sure of, it's not going to be half as good as the beauty I'm about to get in. So you're going to be out in one of these, aren't you, Ben?
I am, yeah.
No GTs there, but don't worry, they're still good.
I'm taking John's
It's
Ford
not as
Fiesta.
good as...
what I'm going to be in, but that's fine.
Why do you always have to make it a competition?
It's not a competition,
It is,
Ben.
I'm sick of it.
If it was a competition, however, who's the big winner? But listen,
But
it's
what
not.
are you doing? You're sitting there going, oh wow, this is amazing. I'm actually driving the car. And you heard that that's going to be me in like 10 minutes.
Toodling along in your car.
No.
Let's see, let's wait
John
and
reckons
see.
I get 160 miles an hour.
Whatever.
It's going to happen.
Oh yeah. You want to see your pants afterwards.
Not wearing any.
How the hell did you get in here? How did you open the door? Where's the handle? Is this it?
No.
This is embarrassing. Girly. There we go. Oh yeah, looks good.
Ready? There they go. Right, here they come. There he is, look. There they are.
That was awesome. Probably the biggest thrill since Paul Swift threw me around the track at Castle Combe. Speaking of Paul Swift, I've just found myself a hot new racing driver, Alex. Alex, this outfit's cool. Are you going out on the racing track today?
Yeah. What car are you going to be driving?
The orange one.
An orange one. They are my favourite.
Are you going to be taken out on the track today?
No.
Why not?
It might break.
You're going to put your helmet?
No.
Oh, well. Maybe next
And
time.
it'll hold me hair.
Don't mess the hair up.
No.
You were just telling me, is this your brother's car for sale?
Smart one called Team for sale, yeah.
So, can you do any deals or what? 12 grand?
He'll probably take a deal on somebody like you, yeah.
Oh, right. What are we
I don't
talking
know.
about?
I'm not talking. Let him talk about the deals. You know what I'm saying?
So, Dave, your brother said you might do me a deal on the Cortina.
Depends what the deal is.
Exactly, we weren't sure. So, what did you have in mind?
I don't know, nice dinner. Be nice, wouldn't it?
Lots of guys here getting all funny about their cars. It's quite amusing. Absolutely.
I feel a bit out of place with the top one, actually.
It's a much better way to be, trust me, because some of those go,
Not sure this one has actually got a bonnet, but it is a beast. We like it. Souped up of the day. Soup of the day. Soup of the day. So here he is, little BJ Ellis, going out for the first time in a, what is it? A Focus. Oh, he does look a little bit nervous, doesn't he? That's right, John. Show him the way. He's going to need all the help he can get. Bye. Here's our bed. Absolutely flying. First lap time, 56 minutes. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, I admit it. I am a little bit jealous that he's driving on track. But he still didn't get to ride in this little baby, did he?
For someone who's never been out on the circuit before, baptism of fire out there. He did a really, really, really good job.
Everything's so quick. There's like so much to think about. And like you're going to a corner and it's in floor it, and then the corner's there and you're like, shit, you got a brake. And man, that was mad.
Join us after the break when we'll be looking at a lovely little sleeper car. And John will be guiding us through the complex world of suspension.
Ultimate Car Tuning, sponsored by Momentum 99 Premium Fuel from Tesco.
Welcome back to Ultimate Car Tuning. We've been at Ford Fair, where Ben and I have been out on track. Admittedly, I was in a GT and Ben was in a Focus, but let's not go there again. So, we're heading back to Rockingham to continue our regular look at the kind of tuned cars you might find here in the UK. This week we have a lovely little Honda S2000, owned by Stuart, a member of UK Street Cars.
So I'm here with Stuart, you've got your lovely S2000 here, and it's a sleeper car. Tell us a bit about what that means.
And a sleeper is basically a car that looks standard on the outside, but actually isn't, where a lot of modifications are done mainly to the engine.
So it's subtle, you've got it all going on, but no one else knows, only you. I like that, it's stylish. So, let's have a little look at this engine. This looks pretty high-tech in here. So I can notice this, firstly, a glass pipe. You don't see them very often, do you?
It's the only S2000 currently with one.
In the world?
Yeah,
wow.
We're in production with it at the minute. So.
That's pretty good going. And also, what's this here? This looks quite interesting.
It's a turbocharged S2000, which obviously is a lot more powerful than the standard S2000.
Right, so, but these cars are quite fast anyhow, aren't they? Yeah. What does that add in terms of performance and speed?
As standard, the S2000 is 240 brake, and this is spec'd up to be between 450 and 500.
So that's a pretty vast improvement, isn't it? How much did that set you back?
Probably about 12 grand.
12 grand? Whew, was it worth it?
Hope so.
So how do you feel about John getting out there on the track driving this little baby?
Interesting.
Nervous?
A little bit, but...
He's all right, he's all right. He plays it safe, does John? Yeah. You'll be fine, you're in safe hands.
Stuart may be in safe hands, but John isn't one to mince his words when it comes to cars. Let's see how it looks out on track. There he goes. Oops. Catch up, cameraman.
Hi guys. How was that?
Very good.
Did he, any hairy moments?
A few, but not too many.
And how fast did he get to?
I think about 100.
About 100? You look like you're going pretty fast. Were you impressed, John?
It's good. Yeah, I mean, the car's about power on this one. One of the best accolades of a power upgrade. Does it feel like the manufacturer did it? And it does. It feels very smooth. It's nice, smooth power delivery. It's getting hot. As each lap got round, the top speed was going lower and lower. So I think the amount of power it's running is getting hotter, etc. And there's a bigger intercooler on it, but I'm not sure it's big enough. Two Achilles heels, I think we knew beforehand. The brakes were short after 3 laps. Yeah, it was very hard to sort of get any real bite at them after that. But they worked well for the first 3 laps, but you know that, so it's not as big an issue. And suspension-wise, it's got upgraded suspension on it, but it still feels very soft. So I think you've set it up to be a good road car, haven't you, really?
So what kind of tips would you do for improvement?
Well, I'd say in the car, certainly I'm going to look at the tyre pressures. I think the tyres are too high. There's a good way of checking that, looking at the edge of the tyre, see where it's wearing down. Secondly, I think the springs need stiffening up and the dampening softening off, maybe. It may well be that, I don't know how you set it up in terms of damping, but the damping feels quite stiff, but the springs feel very soft. Certainly through the chicane through there, it's quite planted, but it's not. But there's still too much movement in the chassis. But overall, it felt good.
So, a pretty glowing report from John. Cherish that, Stuart. They don't come all that often. And what did he say about suspension? Stiff dampening and soft springs, or soft chassis and planted chicanes. Something like that anyway. I tell you what, watch this and find out.
Okay, here we have a real challenge, suspension. Now, we could easily dedicate an entire episode of Ultimate Car Tuning to the ins and outs of suspension, but quite honestly, that sounds a bit dull. Instead, we sent John to Holland to meet one of the leading suspension experts in Europe, Jerome van Gool of Moton, to see if the pair of them could condense the key points about suspension to just a few minutes. Deep breaths, here we go.
You start off with the spring. Are there different kinds of springs? What sort of things are we looking at for them?
Yeah, you know, it's unlimited. So you have different spring rates, you got different lengths, you got different internal diameters, you have different brands, but basically
Right, I did warn you. Now, this is tricky. I think perhaps we need to start about here.
They mentioned two things, springs and dampers. Explain a bit more about springs for us.
Basically, a spring is there to keep the car in the air, you know, otherwise if there's no spring the car would be on the floor.
Very low ride height.
Yes,
yeah.
right. So you have linear springs, main springs, linear main springs, you have progressive main springs, then we have helper springs.
When you say linear spring, just describe what that means.
A linear spring is basically a spring. When you compress it, the spring rate stays the same.
And the progressive spring?
And the progressive spring, the more you compress it, the higher the spring rate gets.
So it's soft at the top and then gets stiffer towards the limit compression.
Right, that's what it is.
So, ignoring the more exotic variations for a second, that's pretty straightforward. We have the linear spring, which has uniform tension all the way through, and then there's the progressive spring, which gets stiffer the more pressure you put on it.
Generally speaking, do you tend to go for more progressive springs or linear springs on road cars and race cars?
Yeah, it's more linear springs because then it's a lot easier to know what you're doing and what's happening. Like in racing, you know, if you vary the ride height, and with a progressive spring, it's always difficult to find the right point where it starts to get progressive. So with a linear spring, it's a lot easier to control.
So it's more consistent, I guess.
It's more consistent.
You've got the same all the way through. Why a progressive spring? What reasons would you use a progressive spring over a linear rate spring then?
Well, it's mainly used in road cars, and then it has to do, you know, if you fully load the car with 4 or 5 people and all the luggage, so that you have enough support. That's why you use a progressive spring.
I guess makes some sense. Obviously, cars are much heavy with people in them than they are with one person around.
Right.
So, linear springs for consistency and progressive springs for big families and variable loads. But there's much more to it than that, because it turns out a spring can't work without something called a dampener. But what's that? Jerome?
The damper basically is controlling the energy which is put in the spring, because the car is moving, so it's compressing and extending, and the damper is controlling that.
Now, if you didn't have a damper, the car would just bounce along on springs, I take it?
Yes, you don't want to try that.
Really? That sounds quite fun. Anyway, concentrate now.
Now, are there different kinds of dampers?
Basically, there are 2 types of dampers, and that's either a monotube damper or a twin tube damper.
What's the benefit of comparing a twin tube to a monotube then?
Well, a monotube, it's mainly used in racing. The advantage is the temperature control is a lot better.
Why is temperature an issue?
Well, the more temperature you get in a damper, it then of course depends on the oil you're using inside, but the viscosity will change, so you will have less damping when it's getting too hot.
So like an engine oil then, engine oil runs
yes.
quicker and smoother when it's hotter,
right,
and also much thicker, so same as damping then, so
yeah,
it will affect how the damper actually works in suspension.
Right.
Okay, then the dampener controls the spring, and the heat of the dampener needs controlling. So there are different types of dampener for different applications. But wait, there's more.
There are different levels of damping, isn't it? Can you go through the different levels of how damping actually works?
Basically, you either have 1-way, 2-way, 3-way, 4-way adjustable dampers. In road cars, most people use 1-way adjustable damper.
Now, 2-way, 3-way, these are obviously different levels of suspension. What does 2-way suspension mean?
2-way adjustable suspension means basically the compression and the rebound are completely separated from each other, so it's a lot easier to dial in the car to the right spot.
So useful for the road, but starting to get more track related rather than road.
Correct.
And 3-way?
3-way, it has an extra low speed and high speed damping feature in compression, so you can control the low speed movement of the damper.
So we're not talking about speed of the car here, we're talking
No.
speed of the dampers and
Correct,
how fast the spring moves up and down, basically.
Correct.
So a high speed bump would be hitting a curb,
Yeah.
and a slow speed bump would be rolling over an undulation.
Correct, yes.
And then finally, four-way, I assume, is high and low speed rebound.
Rebound, correct, yes.
Starting to get complicated now, isn't it, really?
That's more complicated, yes, and I wouldn't try that on a road car. It's mainly used in professional racing, like BTCC or FIA and so on. But you really need to know what you're doing there, otherwise you can get completely lost.
Yes, well, you said it, Jerome. I think my brain is full. Can we see it in action now, please? Good. Now, John got his Focus RS down to Rockingham to demonstrate the difference between standard suspension and the sort of aftermarket offerings that companies like Moton specialise in. First of all, he took the Focus out on track as standard to see how it felt.
So we're going down to the hairpin, which is always the first sign of suspension problems. Nice late turn in. Back comes around, and yeah, the suspension, the front suspension is too soft, cause the cars to basically lift the inside wheel, down the brakes again. The standard suspension just gives the damping is so soft, and so are the springs. It means that the car is forever rolling around, and as the car rolls around, it generates heat into the tyres, which makes them more slippery. End of the day, the tyres are only in contact with the surface of the circuit, so if you lose grip from them, it's a slower car.
Now the RS is a good car in many, many ways, but obviously on track wasn't as we really wanted to be. What did we find?
Basically what we found is that original spring rates are pretty soft, and the dampers on the car are not completely matching those springs. So basically what we did, we increased the spring rate and built a set of dampers who can handle those stiffer spring rates, and adjusting them softly, those dampers with those stiffer springs, makes the car really comfortable on daily roads, and on the racetrack it's a lot faster and more controlled. So that's basically what we did.
So, John got his team of mechanics to take off the standard suspension and replace it with Moton's specially designed aftermarket offering.
So the adjustable suspension is all about fine-tuning the car to the owner. So whilst there's such a thing as a better setup, there's no such thing as a perfect setup. But already, first lap straight away, there's less roll on the car. We can get the power down much quicker. The tyres aren't rolling as much, the body is not rolling as much. And we're able to get the power down coming out of corners very quickly. It's a little bit soft. The high-speed corner is much better. Roll is more controlled, and there's less movement under braking as well. Which means again the tyres aren't getting as hot, they're not getting as greasy, therefore we've got more grip. Again, the hairpin's good, you can turn in so much better. Tyres are still running out of grip, but at the same time we're getting more grip going in. Much better feeling car.
Wow, what a dramatic difference on track. Completely different car.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. If you do the things right, then it's possible to do this, yes.
At the same time on the road, it's more compliant, it's smoother, it's more comfortable as well. You really can have the best of both worlds. And it's not just the Focus you could do this to, it's pretty much any car, yeah?
Yeah, basically it's possible to do it with any car. It's just we can make the cars more compliant, just put stiffer springs in, but with the right set of dampers with it, the car feels more compliant, it's more controlled, and that's the benefit. You don't need to have a stiff car to be fast on the racetrack. You can make the car even more comfortable than original and make it faster on the racetrack.
It's a pretty impressive upgrade.
Glad you liked it, thank you.
So that's it for today. Join us next week when John will be looking at exhausts.
Just looking at them.
Just looking at them.
It's weird. We test a beast of a street car from the UK street car paddock.
And we'll be visiting a proper car club track day to see what VW tuners are up to.
Ultimate Car Tuning, sponsored by Momentum 99 Premium Fuel from Tesco.